You're tuning in to the Raised by Rentals program. This podcast will contain strong language and spoilers for decades-old media properties.
Join us.
Welcome, everybody. This is the podcast where we examine pop culture franchises of the VHS era and improv news stories where life moves pretty fast. Nobody puts baby in a corner. There is no spoon. And where we're going, we don't need roads. But we're definitely going to need a bigger boat because enough is never enough when we're imagining how we might improve our favorite movies, TV, and games. I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
And we were Raised by Rentals. Mike, you shall not dance. Sorry, I was getting carried away with all the movie quotes, and then my brain veered left.
I was like, wait, what's going on? Good times.
Just complete non sequitur just to kick us off, and just to get the juices flowing. To, shake the rust out, or in my case, just kind of again shift my brain into a different direction. I veered left because I was working all day, sitting in the same chair and in the same spot at this desk where I'm a remote worker, so I'm always here. And then it's like, all right, cool, I got to switch gears. We're gonna go record the podcast now, and it's like, oh god, I gotta get out of this work mode and and loosen up.
Right.
So we just did a two-parter. We did our original superhero stories, Nobody's Hero and Transfer of Power, about those heroes that we came up with, Colonel D-Day and Brightside/Oculus. And I always love doing two-parters, and we've done a lot of them. When you look at the history of the podcast, you look at our episode list, there's something about okay, first we'll do your idea, and then we'll do my idea. It's I think it's easier than trying to compromise sometimes on what are you in the mood for,
Oh yeah. Well, plus I think it's fun to just take one concept and kind of both have a stab at it, and then because we're helping each other in each other's episodes anyway, so it's not like we're not getting a second helping. But it's kind of fun. It's if it's fun one time, why not do it twice?
Yeah, exactly right. And so I say all that because now we're doing a two-parter of two-parters, because back to back with the super secret identity 2-in-1 special two-parter about the original superheroes. Now we're going to do the two-part Midsummer Monster Movie Matinee. Woo! Which I literally wanted to do this because I just thought of that alliterative title and was like, oh, I got to use that for a two-part series or something at some point, because I love that one. It goes right hand in hand with some of our other series we've done, like the Midnight Drive-In double feature and the double feature picture show. And I don't always like to put the word double in there, but there's only so many ways you can say, hey, there's two of these guys.
Exactly.
But anyway, so we're going to do another two-parter because I wanted to use that title, and because it mentioned summer and movie matinee, and as we record this, it's already July, and I was like, man, it's time for some fun summer flicks. And last year we did a two-parter that was originally supposed to be called the summertime drive-in double feature, and then I ended up changing it to the midnight drive-in double feature because by the time we finished it, it wasn't summertime anymore.
This is true. This is very true.
So this time we're doing it, goddammit. And I'm not going to, force you to put another episode in the middle somewhere. Oh, we just did a two-parter. We should do something else before we do another one. No. We're rolling right into it. We're doing another two-parter right now. And
hell yeah.
Surprise, surprise, this one is going to be horror.
Woohoo! My wheelhouse, yay!
Exactly.
Well, not to be fair, this year we've done pretty good of not going straight to horror. Now, to be fair, both of our superhero ideas had some horrific elements, but overall we veered away from horror for the most part this year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think every time we tell a story, there's always some darkness to it. We've had a couple episodes that were basically lighthearted, maybe Mr. Monopoly's Neighborhood, and maybe the Harry and Henderson's 2, Hardcore Harry. That was a little bit violent, but I wouldn't say it was dark.
I feel like that was like an all ages action movie, like the second Ninja Turtles, where it's people are getting their asses whooped, but it's comical. Like Harry picked up a big dude and spun him around like a top. It's like there's fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But even when we don't do straight horror, we tend to go dark because I think it's fun to add, something dangerous. Like you want that second act rock bottom moment where like everything is terrible and your characters are in despair. And, plus it's sort of like, I guess, statistically fun to just kind of like fuck with people in a story,
Let's put it this way. In all entertainment, like let's look at video games, for example. Most video games, they're going to have a violent element to it. Like you got your Call of Duties, your Red Dead Redemptions, Modern Warfare, like all these games they're violent. But then you're going to have your sandbox, like playful all ages games like Minecraft and, Roblox and stuff like that. But even in those games, there's horror shit, there's dark shit, So it's like we always, I think as humans, we want to have that bit of danger while we're safe. It's fun. So telling dark stories, it's like, it's fun. It's cathartic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't remember the quote, so I can't say it word for word, but I remember reading years ago in an interview with the comic book writer Brian Michael Bendis, who he worked for Marvel for a really long time. He was like one of the architects of Marvel's return to prominence in the 2000s. He invented Miles Morales and powers and a bunch of other cool stuff. But he wrote Daredevil, the comic, for a long time, and he said something along the lines of, if you like your character and want to see them win, you have to treat them terribly. And it's like, that makes a lot of sense, right?
Well, and not to keep on a comic book superhero thing, but it's the thing I've said on this show time and time again, why I'm not a fan of Superman in general. I have definitely read good Superman stories, and I really enjoyed last year's Superman movie by James Gunn. I really liked that. I can't wait to see Supergirl. Haven't seen it yet, but looking very forward to it. But I generally don't like those heroes that can do anything because there's no danger, there's no threat. You don't care because they're already perfect, but Spider-Man gets his ass handed to him. Spider-Man has bills to pay. Spider-Man has problems, but he's still out there doing good. And while he's doing good, he's getting his ass handed to him. Like, you care about that character. There's some relatability factor. There's, they might fail, and it's like, it's that danger that makes you interested. If they can do anything, well, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Like there has to be some sort of peril, but it can't always be a like world endangering, like cosmic threat. Like you can't write every story about that, but there's relationships and families and jobs and money and betrayal and all kinds of things that you can do with characters where you just beat the shit out of them. But to your point, like they just keep on going, and you get to see that person become a hero because they overcome all these obstacles and they still do the right thing, and they win in the end,
Mm-hmm.
But
absolutely.
I only said all that because I don't know, we got off on that weird little tangent, but I guess we do that around here.
Since episode 1.
Exactly. There was a lot of rabbit trails in that episode. I think we were.
Oh my God. Yeah. We had no idea what we were doing. We're just like, and then.
Right. But I mentioned it now because, to your point, we've done Garbage Pail Kids, Groundhog Day 2. We did Nerd Cards Revoked, Labyrinth 2, The Return. Like most of this wasn't horror this season, actually. And then, of course, the 2 superhero stories. So it was actually kind of funny when I texted you to kick off this idea for this 2-parter when I was like, hey, we just did 4 episodes in a row that weren't horror, and we've only done 1 or 2, maybe 2.5 episodes that really were horror so far. I was like, dude, I think we're actually overdue for another horror story. Like,
yes.
When does that happen?
Exactly.
I think it might actually be a first for the podcast. The first time that me personally, ever said, "Hey, Mike, it's time to go back to horror." Like the break is over.
I think it is. Yeah, no, I'm 100% sure. Actually, that's the first time. But I do like, again, this is pulling from something that we discussed earlier this year when we were talking about Labyrinth 2. Which every time I say Labyrinth 2, I want to say Electric Boogaloo. But
yeah, but
I can't help myself. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, freaking Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo just kind of ruined me for that. I was like, the rhymingness of 2 and Electric Boogaloo just, works for me. But anyway, we had discussed what movies, like what 80s movies, what movies from our childhood have we not really, touched on that would be fun to like reimagine or reinvent or like sequelize or like let's just get a new stable of movies put together, because we've been working off the same old fucking list for like 4 years, man. Mm-hmm. Like we had a bunch of stuff right at the get-go. Like we're like, oh, we got to do this and we got to do this and and we did the Morgue Files, where we had a bunch of episodes that we had planned that we just couldn't make work. So we're like, let's throw them all in this. So, the listeners will know we had shit planned for years ahead of time. Yep. It's time to kind of restock the coffers. So you had asked me, give me a list of movies that, you would want to redo or sequelize or remake. And I just went through, man, and I was writing shit down that I was like, ooh, this would be fun. Ooh, this would be fun. And when you suggested this, you told me yours, so I'm not gonna ruin it here for people for next episode. Yep. You told me your pick, and then you suggested one of the ones that I suggested. You'd thrown this back at me, and immediately I got excited because it's something that I don't think we've done before. So without bearing the lead any further, we are going to remake, not reimagine, not go, if we had the keys to the kingdom at the time, how would we do this? But we are going to remake The Stuff from, I believe, 1988, if I'm not mistaken. 85. Oh, I failed. My nerd card is going to be revoked.
We did that already. That was a whole episode.
That's true. Yeah, 85. Man, I'm bad at this. But yes, we are going to remake The Stuff. Now, what that means is I was thinking about the early 2000s. For those of you old enough to remember, the early 2000s, there was just a spat of horror movie remakes. Like it seemed like every movie that was coming out that was horror was a remake of an older film. And there was a bunch of stuff. Like, I mean, you got your big ones like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Dawn of the Dead. Like people knew about those. But then there was a lot of like little ones that people never really talked about, like April Fool's Day and Prom Night. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think one of the better ones that no one ever talks about is fucking Maniac with Elijah Wood. Like, I love the original. Don't get me wrong. The original Maniac is a fucking scary ass slasher film, but Elijah Wood is terrifying in the remake. But it was a ton of remakes, and I'm like, we've never done a modern remake. We've never said, okay, that movie exists. We're gonna say that movie still exists, but if we were tasked to remake it now with modern sensibilities, with ties to the original movie, but completely changing it, making it completely different for a modern audience, how would we do that with The Stuff? And man, I got excited once I started thinking about that.
Yeah, which is awesome, because I wasn't particularly excited about The Stuff, to be honest. Like it's a movie I've literally seen once before, or prior to recently when I rewatched it to talk about it now. I've only seen it once, but it was just sort of like in the pop culture zeitgeist or the ether, being not a huge horror fan myself necessarily, but being around, horror and sci-fi fans and watching a lot of, low grade movies and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, I remember The Stuff. I saw it when I was a kid. I know what The Stuff is. I get it. Those little pink tubs of like goo. Yep. But yeah, so when we did that brainstorming session, actually Labyrinth 2: The Return came out of that brainstorming session. We liked that idea so much that I think it was like the next day or maybe the day after, but like within 2 days we just recorded Labyrinth, like right from that that brainstorming session, to fill out the ideas list with some fresh blood. And then I had an ulterior motive for wanting to do this two-parter as well, because like I have a movie that I want really badly to do a true improve on, and I've brought it up before, and every time I bring it up, you always like hem and haw, or you defer of like, I don't know, man, I don't really know what to do, and I'm like, I know what to do. Like, come on, like let's do this one, and we kept putting it off and putting it off, and so finally I was like, oh, I know, I'll do a two-parter, and I'll pick the weirdest, low-budgetest, like dumbest, like a horror movie on the list that Mike thought was a good idea, and I'm like, if he can have the stuff, then I can have mine. And so I was like, let's do this, and you were like, fuck yeah, dude, the stuff, and I'm like, wahaha, I snuck it in there.
Totally fair. And I will say I know for a fact that at the very least one of our listeners is very excited about your entry, because one of my coworkers listens to this podcast, and they are a big fan of the film that you are going to cover, so they're very much looking forward to that.
Excellent.
So yes. I know I know there are other people out there that will enjoy it. So it's time we gotta get into these, because it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I agree. And again, the other reason I wanted to do this stuff is there was something about it when I was looking at the list from our brainstorming session, and some of them were like, oh, like, this is a big idea. We need some time for some homework or whatever. But there was something about it, something about the stuff that just jumped off the list of like, you know what, like this is just crazy enough to work. Like there's something about it. It's not just that I was trying to like, what's the movie I can use as like a fishhook to get Mike to agree to the two-parter, but it was really of like, I could have picked other ones, but there was something about this that was like, man, there's like some interesting possibilities here. And then when you said, oh, I want to do like a modern remake, because the original is kind of tied up in like the commercialism of the time when it came out, and there were some specific satirical things that they were talking about, even about like junk food and health crazes and all this, and like we'll get into it. And so you were like, no, I really just want to do like a modern remake. And I'm like, you're right, that's weird. I don't think we've ever done that before. And it was way too late at night, and I should have been sleeping, but I was in bed, and I pulled up my phone and I looked at the list of our episodes, and like, sure enough, man, I just went through over 100 episodes, and I couldn't find one that was a modern remake, because we always do like a redo or an imaginary version or a sequel or whatever. Like, we've never just said, no, the stuff 1985 exists, ours is the stuff 2026. And I'm like, oh fuck, now it's cemented. Like, we have to do this. Like, let's go.
Yes. Fuck yeah. Well, so I know you usually have facts and figures. Do you have facts and figures about the original?
Yeah, just some basic ones, but not really. There's not really much to it.
Yeah. I mean, I have a few things I want to say about the original, so you go ahead and kick us off, and then I'll jump in.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, basic stuff. It came out in 1985, directed by Larry Cohen, who I don't really know anything else he did. I even looked him up on IMDb, and I'm like, I don't recognize any of this stuff. And apparently he was kind of an asshole to people on set, so I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he is responsible. Let me just double check so I don't get my nerd card revoked twice in the same episode. Yes, he is responsible for Q, the Winged Serpent, with David Carradine.
Okay, well, I stick by what I said. He hasn't really done much.
For the people who have not seen it, Q, the Winged Serpent is kind of a play on Quetzalcoatl, and it's a very silly monster movie that's actually really well done. Like, it's very silly. The monster's stop motion. It's kind of bad, but much like the stuff, there are character moments that are just like, wow, that's a really fun scene, or that's a really fun little bit of dialogue. He tends to, his directing style to me seems to be like, he directs a scene or two of good stuff and then doesn't know how to connect them.
Yeah. I do. I had very similar notes about that. Yeah, exactly. In my commentary about this stuff, but yeah, like, but just in terms of facts and figures, like I said, I mean, that's really it. It's a movie about some weird substance that seeps out of the ground, and some random dude in literally the first scene of the movie like sticks his finger in it and tastes it for some reason. Like, it's boiling up out of the ground like white oil, and he's just like, oh, that's tasty, here, try some. Hey, you should try some.
I wrote it down. It was within the first 15 seconds of screen time. This guy, picture marshmallow fluff. It looks like marshmallow fluff bubbling out of a hole in the ground. He literally puts his hand in it and goes, "What's this? Ooh, it's so smooth." And then he licks it. And I'm like, what in the actual fuck? Like, whose first response to anything that they see bubbling on the fucking ground would be, I'm going to put that in my mouth.
Right?
What the hell is wrong with you?
It's so bizarre. And like you said, it's within the first 15 seconds to the point when I put the movie on yesterday, which, by the way, is streaming. I was shocked. I thought for sure I was going to have to go find a bootleg of this thing. But I want to say it was on Amazon, but I can't remember because I've watched so many movies the past couple of days for different reasons.
Right.
And I just use my Apple TV, so I just search for it and hit play. But again, I'm pretty sure it's on Amazon. And just first of all, why? I'm Shudder, I could understand, but it's on Amazon Prime. That's so bizarre. Anyway,
I watched it on Tubi.
But also, I put the movie on and I hit play and I sat back in my couch and I picked up my drink and then I immediately put my drink back down and I picked up my remote because I'm like, wait, I must have hit play on this before because I must have missed something. Let me back it up to the beginning because the dude already ate the stuff. And I'm like, wait, no, that is the beginning. Holy shit. There's not a missing scene that I accidentally skipped. It's literally 15 seconds in and the dude's eating stuff out of the ground. What?
And convincing his buddy. That whole sequence reminded me of, and I feel like everyone has had this experience when you're out with friends or family and someone tastes something and they're like, "Oh God, this is disgusting. Here, try some."
Yeah.
And it's why would you think I'd want it if you said that's disgusting? However, most of us have at least had this experience once where you're like, I don't know, is it any good? And it's they just told you it's disgusting.
Right?
Why are you going to try it? And then you try it and you're like, ew, gross.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it felt like, because this guy was like, "What is that? What are you eating?" He's like, "Here, try it. It's sweet. It's good." And he's just like, "Okay." And just he literally sees that it's coming. The guy points to it. He says, "It's coming out of the ground." And he fucking eats it anyway. It's so weird to me.
I know. It's it's some kind of I would have assumed it was some kind of fungus or primordial slime or something. Why would you eat
some
that?
Kind of waste?
Yeah, it's so gross. But and then there's not really any buildup from that first sequence.
No.
The dude licks it. He's like, "Oh, this is good." And then literally the next couple of scenes is just a montage of now this shit is in plastic tubs all over America, every supermarket, everybody's eating it, everybody loves it, everyone's addicted to constantly eating the stuff. It's 0 calories, no sugar, it's good for you. And exactly, it looks exactly like marshmallow fluff in a plastic tub. And I like marshmallow fluff. So at first I was kind of like, "Oh, that shit looks pretty good,"
Yeah. Same. As a kid, I always was like, I kind of want to try it, but I'm scared.
Right. I mean, not as an adult, I'll say, but as a kid, I absolutely, there were times when I took the marshmallow fluff out of the cupboard and looked around one direction, then the other direction, and stuck 2 fingers in it and took a big old scoop and just ate it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Oh man. But yeah, and that's basically the movie. The stuff becomes popular, and then there's this little kid named Jason who sees it move apparently in his refrigerator when there's a spilled jar of it, and he freaks the fuck out and refuses to eat it. And then there's these big company execs who are trying to figure out how they make it, this rival company that sells the stuff. They're trying to figure out what it is, what's the secret formula Coca-Cola, so they can steal it. And so they hire a guy named Mo Rutherford, who is an admitted corporate saboteur. They hire him to go steal the secret recipe, and you think, okay, cool, that's what this movie's going to be about. It's going to be some kind of a weird corporate espionage story of a guy trying to steal a secret recipe, except it just goes bonkers from the scene where you meet Mo, because he punches a dude and he's acting fucking high the whole time, and then the whole movie is just this bizarre. It's sequence of scenes that are very interesting, but also, like you said before, they're very interesting, like character moments or like silly special effects scenes. But they're such non sequiturs that it's really hard to understand what's going on, and like the logic leaps are huge. But it becomes very obvious that Jason was correct. The stuff or whatever it is alive, and it's infecting people, and it becomes some kind of a weird, I don't know if it's a parasite or what it is, but it's like living in them and kind of controlling them, and people act totally normal until someone gets suspicious about the stuff, and then they suddenly freak the fuck out and their body gets all mutated and the weird white shit comes out of them like tentacles or whatever. And it's like, okay, so it's like a monster story about, the stuff is like taking over the earth. But then they find out that no, it's just in this like one or two like little towns, and when they go to the big city and they tell people about it on the radio, and everyone's like, "Oh, this shit's bad for you," and like they win, and that's it. And it's like, what the fuck?
but then there's that moment at the end where the new version of the stuff called the Taste is going to come out, and Mo and Jason force them to eat their own supply and stop it from happening. But
I mean, I could go on and on. It's a bizarre movie, but I don't want to waste time like recapping it. Like, I'm pretty sure the majority of people listening to this, even though they probably like weird pop culture stuff like us, our audience, I would say the majority of people have probably not seen this stuff. And in other circumstances, I would say, hey, you should go watch the stuff. Like, pause the podcast, go watch it, come back. In this case, I'm going to say, no, don't bother, because it's okay. Like, you'll get enough from us. And I don't want to subject you to that, because quite frankly, it's not a good movie.
I will say two things. One, it doesn't waste any time getting into the story. Like you said, within we said within the first 15 seconds, they're eating the stuff. Then there's a montage with the opening credits. And then before you know it, bam, the stuff is everywhere. People are aware of it. It's a diet culture fad. Everybody loves it. Enough is never enough of the stuff. Like, no one can get enough of this shit. So it doesn't waste any time, which I do appreciate. And it's also short. It's not a very long movie.
Thank God.
While it does feel like it's a long movie, because it does really drastically slow down a couple of times, it's not that long. It's an hour and a half. It's really not a long movie for that's your standard horror movie in the 80s. But yeah, there are a few moments in here that I gotta quickly mention. The scene where Jason is destroying the supermarket is fucking hilarious. It is Three Stooges level hilarious. Like, he just starts going ham on all these fucking displays. You got stock boys jumping at him. He's sliding underneath them, running with a broom, breaking all these displays, shattering fucking windows. Like, kid just goes from I don't like the stuff to seeing a little kid eating the stuff. He grabs it out of his hands and smashes it on the ground as the mom yells, and then he just starts going apeshit on the entire store. I fucking love that scene. I laughed my ass off every fucking time.
Yeah. I love the dudes who are stacking the tubs into like a triangle, and they just go, yes! Oh no! And then Jason comes up and smacks the whole triangle down. And I'm like, you couldn't stop this like 8-year-old kid. Fuck.
Right. There's two of you. Like, oh my God! But then there's also the military guy, Colonel Spears, played by Paul Sorvino, where he's like this crazy over the top like military dude. And when they shoot a bunch of they call the stuff addicted people the stuffies. When he shoots one of them and all the white goo comes up, he's like, I kind of like the sight of blood, but this is disgusting. That line had me fucking pissing my pants. I'm like, really? Like, in the middle of you just murdered a man and white goo is coming out where blood should be, and you're just like, I kind of like blood, but this, no, this is a bridge too far. Dude, I lost it. His delivery is so good because it's so bad.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Paul Sorvino in this movie it's like, and we've talked about this before, like with Frank Langella in Masters of the Universe, for example, where it's like they know what type of movie this is, and so they just like savor the character. It's like he just like hammed it up like crazy. It was never so over the top that I thought it was bad because Paul Sorvino was a good actor, but you could tell he was just having a good time with that
Oh,
sequence.
fuck yeah.
And the same is true for Danny Aiello, who has a pretty small role, but Danny Aiello from Do the Right Thing, and I always think of him as playing alongside Bruce Willis in Hudson Hawk. I don't think anyone else in the world likes Hudson Hawk except for me, but
I'm kind of on the fence.
I love it. Anyway, but I mean, there's a couple of actors you would know, and there's two of them, and then one other one is Garrett Morris, who people would know from the original SNL cast, and he plays Chocolate Chip Charlie, who it's basically like Famous Amos, like making chocolate chip cookies.
Exactly.
And all of these guys who are like genuinely good actors, man, like I said, they're just hamming it up. They're having fun with it. Everything that they say is just bonkers, and I'm sure that reading the line on the script came across as funny, like I like the sight of blood, but then you put it in like Paul Sorvino's mouth and it just comes across so wild.
And this is the thing we've talked about it on the Boogeyman's Closet countless times, and even on this show we've talked about this was a thing particularly in the 70s and 80s especially, where you're making a shitty horror movie. It's low budget. You know what it is. Like, you understand it's very niche. It's going to a specific crowd, but you bring an actor in that has a little bit of gravitas. Like, you have this seasoned actor that you bring into the movie that it's like, okay, people respect this guy. People like this guy. And a lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times they're kind of on the downslope of their career. Like their star has faded just a tinge. And then they end up in these horror movies playing these wild characters like oh my God, Royal Dano in Ghoulies 2 and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And like, you have these guys that pop up in horror movies all the time. And I feel like Paul Sorvino was kind of doing that here. I mean, granted, his star hadn't really risen that high yet, but he was a good actor already kind of recognized at that point. David Carradine, another one, he's in Q the Winged Serpent. So it's like, you have these, like, you'll have that one, the one get, and my favorite example of that, and I think the best example of that, is Rutger Hauer in Hobo with a Shotgun, because for those of you that have never seen Hobo with a Shotgun, it is a fucking masterclass in making a bizarre, bonkers movie that works, because it is so fucking insane and outlandish, but he plays it straight the entire time, and he's just fucking chef's kiss. Like, I already loved Rutger Hauer, but that put him in like my top 10. Like, he was so good after I saw that movie.
I'll say about Rutger Hauer is he's in a lot of really great movies, but he's in a lot of movies kind of like Hobo with a Shotgun. He's in a lot of these like low budget schlocky films, and I don't know if it's just because he's like, whatever, like, write me a paycheck and I'll show up, or if he just enjoys it. I don't know, but he does that a lot when he's in these schlocky movies where he just always plays it the same way, whether he's in something really serious and high budget or he was in something like really low budget and terrible. I don't think he cares. He's just doing his thing every single time, and
he's having fun. It's the Nicolas Cage effect. It's 100% the Nicolas Cage effect, where it's just like, you just like to act. So, hey, you're getting paid to act? Fuck yeah, you're going to have fun. Like the fact that Nicolas Cage said about Spider-Man Noir that he wanted to play it as if it was a spider pretending to be a human. Like, that's fucking bizarre, but it's fucking Nicolas Cage and it works. But Rutger Hauer, from the interviews I saw around Hobo with a Shotgun, he knew exactly what type of movie it was. But he was like, no, I wanted to take this role very seriously. Is like, because I felt that, juxtaposing the insanity of the various villain characters against, someone taking this role very seriously would be very fun for the audience. And it's like, yeah, no, it was. You fucking nailed it, dude.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm looking, but anyway, this isn't a podcast about Rutger Hauer, but yeah, exactly. Like, like you said,
back to the stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think Garrett Morris was the one who was, his star was probably waning, whereas Danny Aiello and Paul Sorvino were probably more on the way up. But everybody else in this movie, they were kind of unknowns at the time. Like, they had some TV roles here and there. I think Michael Moriarty, who plays Mo Rutherford, who's basically the main character, actor. I think he's probably the biggest of the TV stars, but not until after this, when he was on Law and Order for a long time, which I never watched, and so I had to look him up. And I'm again looking at all the credits for all these people. I'm like, yeah, this is like such a terrible low budget movie. Like they couldn't get anybody but that one guy that was on SNL like years ago, But hey,
right.
And like I said, it's just this weird string of random scenes that are just really fun. Like you could tell the actors were having a good time in that scene, and then they go to another scene, and it's the pieces that connect them that are just fucking awful. Like just there's no segue. And at one point, I even stopped and backed up the movie because I'm like, at what point did Mo and Nicole get into a relationship? It's like they're flirting, and then they're like sleeping in a hotel room talking like an old married couple, like they've been in a relationship for years. And I'm like, they just met. Like, what did I miss?
That is something I'm so glad we've gotten away from in horror, where like the male lead always has to have a love interest, or the female lead always has to have a love interest. No matter what, there's always some romantic connection. It's like, why? It's not necessary. Don't. If the story calls for it, great. If it's like Halloween 3 is another great example. You just meet somebody. Yeah, we're gonna fuck now because we're on a road trip together. No, like, stop it. Yeah. But anyway,
I read the trivia. Sorry, I read the trivia on IMDb after this, and I'm like, that makes a lot of sense because again, I was just complaining about this weird relationship, and where I had to back it up, and it's based around what I think is my favorite scene in the movie from a special effects perspective, which is there's a scene where the main characters Mo and Nicole are in a hotel, and they're sharing a bed like an old married couple, and then they get attacked by stuffies, and then like the stuff itself, and there's this really great sequence where like gallons and gallons and gallons of marshmallow fluff pour out of the bed they were sleeping on and like creep up the wall, and they grab this other stuffy guy and it absorbs him, but you could tell from that the set must have been filmed upside down because it's like creeping up the wall, and even the fire, they light it on fire and the fire's backwards. It's like, oh, that's it's like they flipped the camera or whatever. But then I read the trivia that actually they used the same set as the first murder scene in Nightmare on Elm Street with the bedroom,
the rotating room.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? They probably got access to that, and they were like, we need a scene where the people are in bed. We got to write one, and they just made the whole thing up in the hotel just so they could use that rotating room and pour 100 gallons of marshmallow fluff up the wall. But I'm like, you know what? Hey, I thought that scene looked fucking great.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. One last thing I want to mention just about like the silliness of this movie is. Now, this is one of those moments that we see a lot of these in pop culture, like just in pop culture in general, where a movie will come out and it will date itself by putting a joke that is very, very, very prevalent to the time that it comes out in. And then like 5 years down the road, that joke doesn't make any sense anymore. And then like 20, 30 years down the road, no one gets it at all, except for those of us that were old enough to be alive when it first came out. But Clara Peller, who was a spokeswoman for the Wendy's Corporation back in the 80s, who did an entire advertising campaign called Where's the Beef? Because the whole joke was that Wendy's has a big square patty that reached outside of the boundaries of the bun, so you knew where the beef was, while other fast food restaurants had these little tiny hockey pucks of meat and mostly bun. And like, it's a thing where three old ladies, they lift up the burger bun, you see this tiny little patty, and she goes, "Where's the beef?" And they're like, "At Wendy's." And then they go on. Well, there's a commercial in this where they're out. It's her, and I forget who she's out to dinner with because she's out with someone famous.
Isn't it Abe Vigoda or
Abe Vigoda? Thank you. Okay. Yes, it's Abe Vigoda. I couldn't remember. I was like, I know, I could see his face. But yeah, they're out to dinner, and he's like, "What do you think, honey?" And she goes, "Where's the stuff?" And then they're like, "The stuff. Enough is never enough." And I'm just like, oh my God, it's so dated, but fucking hilarious to me, again, being an 80s child. But it's like, man, I kind of hate it when movies do that, because I watch movies from the 2000s sometimes and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't land anymore. Like, that was a pop culture moment from like 99, but so overall, The Stuff is a movie that is lampooning consumerism, corporate greed, and diet culture. And again, I think that's still prevalent very much so now. We talked about this a little bit off the air, but it's like, if you look at a lot of advertisements now, almost every advertisement I see on Hulu or on AMC Plus or any of the advertisements I see are like Ozempic or some kind of form of Ozempic. It's, hey, lose weight. And again, we do have an obesity epidemic. I'm one of the people that are, that are obese, and I need to lose weight. But my point is, diet culture is always a very fad-like thing. You're always hearing, oh, try the carnivore diet, try this diet, try that diet. So making a movie where it plays into the diet culture makes sense. And again, consumerism and corporate greed. My God, like, that's just our entire fucking lives, man. Yeah. Because since we've been alive, we've been dealing with that. Yeah. Corporate greed run amok.
If I can interrupt just for a second, I think your idea about doing a modern remake, it makes a lot of sense, because all the stuff that you're talking about right now, it very much seems like the 2020s is kind of the 80s. All over again. There's a lot of similarities in politics and economics and trends, like you said. Yeah, it's definitely a good time to do this type of movie where, again, in the 80s when it came out, it was very much a satire on the consumer culture, especially around, again, dieting and junk food, and, diet sodas were still new, and people were really into, again, light food and diet stuff, and aerobics was really big. Well, at the same time, every mom in America was buying like sugar cereal and like, Diet Coke, that's for rich celebrities. And it's like everything was full of sugar, and yet everything in the media was, all about, losing weight. And it wasn't too far in the future when, like, heroin chic became a thing, because it went, so extreme. And exactly. I feel like that's very much coming back. And a movie like The Substance from just a couple of years ago is a really good example of it. It's not the same concept as the stuff, but it's the same satire on the society, reflecting what we saw in the 80s. And I almost opened the episode by, with a funny intro where I was going to compare the Trump era with the Reagan era, but I'm like, you know what? We always talk about how we don't want to touch on politics, so I'll just leave it alone. But anyway, continue.
However, I'm right there with you. I was kind of drawing those parallels myself. But yeah, no, I feel like this is it is a good time for another lampoon at corporate greed, consumerism, and diet culture run amok. So here's my pitch. We're just we've talked about the original stuff, we've talked about a lot of other stuff. Let's just jump right into the 2026 remake of The Stuff. So modern day. We're going to have stuff like the internet. We're going to have cell phones. We're going to have all that jazz. So what I'm picturing is a corporation. For just the sake of naming conventions, we'll call it the International Foodstuffs or International Foodstuffs Incorporated, something like that.
There you go.
It's a food corporation who's, a global corporation, obviously traded heavily on the stock market. They have a lot of shareholders they want to keep happy. But they're that company that goes around the world looking for the next big thing. They're looking for the next, like acai berry, or like ginseng root, or some kind of thing that's going to be like healthy for you, but also tasty. And look, we can market it like, ooh, you want to go out and eat this thing. Like, they're always looking for that. So I'm picturing like we would open the movie where we see some of these agents, and they're like, kind of going around different, like we could see them in different markets. Like maybe some of them are in India looking at like various plants and wildlife out in India. And then you got, people just all over, but we're going to focus in on a group of people going into, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but I think it's the Tepui caves in Venezuela. They're specifically those caves. And I'm sure you've seen the photos of them. There's a huge fucking cave system, but in those cave systems, there's like entire ecosystems. Like there's like plant life and trees and animals that live just in there. Like it's like a encapsulated ecosystem that just never really needs to go outside of its little hub. So I'm picturing these, these corporate scientists being led by a bunch of native residents of the area down into these cave system where we're going to see like all these new insects and birds and weird shit. And they're going to be shocked by how beautiful it is down in this little, contained eco. And, they're going to find these berries, and this is what the people are showing them, that there's these white berries that grow only in this one section of the cave system. Like, they don't grow anywhere else in the jungle. They've never seen them anywhere else in the world. It's just these little berries, and they're like maybe they don't taste good. Maybe they're like kind of bitter,
Sure.
but the people and the animals of the area, like, they eat these things and they're very healthy. And they find out after they start studying them that, they're naturally dense with antioxidants and heart healthy fats and full of vitamin C, super low in sugar, extremely nutritious. It's like a fucking superfood.
Right.
And they're just like, oh my God, like, we would be fools not to market this. Like, we have to study this. So, we have them pluck a bunch of them from the vine, go back to their camp and all that. And they start studying. This is when they would realize like just how important these things are. But when they try to ship them back home, the things rot in containment. So it would be like they have no shelf stability. Like, there's no way this isn't going to be the next acai berry, because they're not going to be able to grow it in other parts of the world. They're not going to be able to ship it all over America and make tons of money. So how can they make money off of this superfood that nobody else, this untapped market? How can they do it? So I figure this would be like all in the opening credits. Like, we'd have the cold opening of them finding the berry, and then the opening credits, we'd see the food scientists like extracting, the DNA of the berry and like basically processing the fuck out of this stuff, and turning it into a whipped dessert. And they end up creating this new superfood that's super low calorie, like 100 calories a pint type of thing. Like, you can eat the stuff and literally watch the pounds drop off, that type of a thing. So clearly this is going to be a huge hit with diet culture, because it's a tasty and nutritious dessert that you can lose weight while eating tons of. Fuck yeah, sign me up.
I want some.
Exactly. So I figured, just like the original movie, we would get through the finding of and the distribution of the stuff within like the first 10 minutes of the flick.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like the idea that this like a weird like berry or something from these sort of enclaved ecosystems. I think that's a great way to do it. It makes a whole hell of a lot more sense than white shit just bubbling up from the ground and some dude just tries to taste it.
Like marshmallow ground fluff.
God. So far I think this is great. I think that basically brings us right to the same place in the original movie where they ended with that opening montage we mentioned. After the weird dude he tastes the shit, and then it's like suddenly it's like all over in the supermarkets. It's on every shelf and everybody loves it. It's on TV commercials, or I guess in this case it would be those stupid ads that interrupt the fucking movies on like Tubi and Amazon now. Even though you fucking pay for the streaming services, they still got to show fucking ads anyway, like fucking cable TV coming back again. Anyway,
Quick little side note on that. I just have to comment on this because I found it hilarious. Jess has she signed us up for the AMC Plus app, which also includes the free version of Shudder. So, I have I've been paying for Shudder since it came out, but she was watching Tales from the Crypt on the free Shudder app on the AMC, but it has commercial breaks. And so she goes to bed. I'm continuing to watch it. Like, I'm just too lazy to log into mine, so I don't have to watch the commercials. I'm just like, whatever. And I always forget the name of the episode, but it's the episode with the funeral director who has to take in his nephew, and he's like a penny pincher guy and blah, blah, blah. Well, he claims his nephew ordered the wrong coffin and it cost him a bunch of money. He's like, where am I going to get a new coffin at this time? And they cut in a commercial right there, and they're like, at the Home Depot, you can say, and I just fucking lost my mind laughing, because I'm like, that was the best timing, and I know no human being had a hand in it.
That's pretty great though.
Yeah. There was one example I could be like, I was okay with the commercial because I laughed so fucking hard. But anyway, back to the stuff. So I figure where we would go from there is like we would have this montage opening, like where we would see the opening credits, we'd see the scientists creating the stuff, we'd see the like the factory churning out, like packaging up like the labels on it, just like wrapping the little boxes and squirting the stuff into the containers, shipping them off to grocery stores everywhere. We'd see like a montage of a commercial, kind of like in the original, you know, enough is never enough of the stuff, you know, that whole stuff. Like we'd have that. We'd have like just people. We'd see people eating it, just kind of just an overall montage. And we would end that montage with like, you know, happy family eating the stuff and very just saccharinely sweet commercial of just like smiling family all, you know, like hamming it up for the camera, eating the stuff. And then we're just going to pull back and we'll see that on like on a TV in the background. And we got a guy just like big old thing of cigarettes like on his desk, like just stamped out cigarettes. He's smoking, fingernails all stained. He's talking into a microphone. He's like, I'm telling you, people, you know, you got to have mo questions to get mo answers. He's like, these motherfuckers, they're poisoning us. The stuff ain't what you think it is. It's another diet fad. It's a poison. You know, I'm Mo Rutherford with Mo Answers. We'll be back soon. You know, like he's doing a fucking podcast. He's a conspiracy theorist, like a Joe Rogan type.
Nice.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
So, and maybe we could have Jason, the little kid, like the reason that they're connected will be like Jason listens to his podcast, you know, so we could touch on that when we introduce his character.
Yeah, I love this. I was actually, you know, curious about how we were gonna, frankly, like work in characters. Period. You know, I can see how the idea of a corporate saboteur stealing a secret recipe makes sense for a story. That's not really the story that they told in the stuff, even though like that was the premise.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I mean, we could do that with Mo, but you know, I feel like an everyman character would make more sense. And I think Jason should have been that in the stuff. There should have been the two sides of the coin where you had, you know, the one guy who had access to what was going on in the company that was selling it versus the kid that was just like, you know, he's the guy on the street, like the regular everyday person who's experiencing normal people being infected by the stuff. And, you know, like he's trying to convince everyone and no one believes him. And yeah, so I think we can do something like that where, yeah, I love this idea of Mo being this sort of, you know, conspiracy theorist type of podcaster, but I don't think it would be a good idea to have him be this wild theorist. Like it can't be these wild conspiracies like the earth is flat, but you know, it's like he's definitely really skeptical about any sort of like, you know, new product or new company, or, you know, he's definitely the kind of guy who's going to be constantly revealing, you know, who your favorite celebrity is like secretly donating money to, you know, like some cause or politician that sucks. You know, it's like, you know, it's like this guy's just exposing people. That's kind of what he's about. Like you said, the Mo Answers. I really like that. Yeah, and I think we could do something similar with a character like Jason, where he's a regular kid. He likes this stuff like anybody else, and he just goes to have some one day, and something happens where it moves or something where he's like, whoa, suddenly he doesn't want to have it anymore. Suddenly he's going to get real paranoid. He's trying to tell people about it. He doesn't go on a rampage in the supermarket, but he tries to tell his friends. His friends tell him he's a pussy because he doesn't want to eat the stuff like all of them, you know. And he tries to tell his parents and like, yeah, like whatever, dude, you know, you're crazy. Like look at the labels, 0 calories, you know, whatever. And we should have his dad be listening to that podcast, and you know, maybe like get in the car and the podcast starts and he's like, oh, sorry kids, I'll put the music on, which happens to me all the time, you know. And then, you know, have Jason be like, wait, like what is that? He's talking about the stuff. And he's, you know, and then they start to listen and have Jason's dad be like, oh, this crackpot, he's crazy. He turns it off. But it was just enough for Jason to know, okay, I'm like when I as soon as I get a chance, I'm gonna like pull out my cell phone and email the guy, because that's what you can do in 2026 technology,
right?
You know.
Well, what if yeah, like I don't want him to be like a wild conspiracy theorist, but I still kind of want him to be a conspiracy theorist where like just enough where people don't take him seriously, you know. Okay, like so he's going to have his hardcore fan base. Like, of course, you're going to have the people out there that are going to be like, listening to this guy's every word and being like, fuck yeah, I'm with you. Like, you're going to have your hanger-ons, but you're also going to have the people who like are aware of him. Like, for example, like I don't listen to Joe Rogan, but I know of him. And I know people do listen to the guy. I don't really listen to him. I've listened to interviews where I'm just like, whatever. But I know people like religiously follow that guy, and there are a ton of bad fucking like manosphere bullshit podcasts that I will see random clips of on TikTok and I'm like, ew, like it's just the grossest shit that you wonder, like, how do these people become popular? I don't want him in that camp, but somewhere in between, somewhere where it's like, yeah, he's getting some stuff right, but he's also kind of wildly crazy about some of this stuff. And he's like, missing the mark. So no one really takes him seriously. It's mostly like, teenage men or teenage boys and like young men that listen. That's his bread and butter. He's like chain smoking like a fiend, being like, fuck the American healthcare system, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, like that kind of a guy. But maybe he's gotten enough things right where like people who listen to him still argue like, yeah, like he may have screwed up on that one thing. Like, yeah, he was wrong about that one politician, but he was right about this other celebrity, that kind of a thing. But with this version of the stuff, rather than it being like an entity or something that can move on its own, what if it was just like, because of whatever process they did to this berry, whatever they did to like whatever preservatives or like chemicals they injected it with, it made it incredibly addictive. Like, yeah, people are losing weight. Sure, people are feeling great on it and all that, but they're only feeling great on it if they have it. It's kind of like if you're addicted to caffeine, where if you don't have that cup of coffee, you're going to get a migraine. It's kind of the same thing, only imagine if that was turned up to 11. Yeah. So it's like you don't get your fix of the stuff. Maybe you become a little violent, like you become super irritable. So rather than being like, I just need to eat more, it's like, no, I have to have it. It's like a fucking fix.
As ex-smokers, it's like I think we can both relate to that especially when you're in a situation like at work or an airplane or something, and you're just like, oh man, like when am I gonna have a chance to get back outside again? Like, like I'm like vibrating over here, like I need that fix, and then of course, as soon as you get a chance to go outside and you light it up and take that drag, or you drink that coffee or you have that drink, the alcohol, whatever, it's like every single time something like that happens to me, even if it's just a matter of like, oh my god, I have like a caffeine headache, I need a cup of coffee, I take a first sip, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's the stuff.
Yep. Yes, exactly. Dude, I remember so many times being like that back when I still smoked. Like, I'd be at work for 8 hours with no fucking break, and I'd be like, and it'd be a bad fucking day, and I'm chomping at the bit, like waiting for that fucking, waiting for my relief to get there so I could get the fuck out and go smoke. And like, I'd be irritable as all hell, and then I'd finally get to my car and light that fucking cigarette up and just be like, oh yeah, okay, there it is. It's just like, it's that full relief. So yeah, I feel like the stuff would become this highly sought after, highly like coveted food item where people are going to buy, like they're going to buy it out. It's kind of like, and I'm sure we've all seen this, like, when like pop culture food items come back, like, oh, Ecto Cooler is back on the market. Good luck fucking finding it, because everyone's going to buy it up. It's kind of like that. So like when they get a shipment of the stuff, people are buying it in like, cases, or they're limiting how many purchases you can make of the stuff, so they're bringing their friends and family to stock up on it.
Oh god, yeah, that reminds me of like, collectibles, right? Like
yes,
like convention
like Pokemon cards,
or Pokemon cards, exactly, and or the little boo boo, whatever the fuck that shit's called, where it's like,
or
did you call
it Little Boo Boo?
No. La Boo Boo, is that what it's called? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's La Boo Boo, but I thought you called it Little Boo Boo, and I'm fucking cracking up because I want to make a knockoff of that now called Little Boo Boo.
Well, I mean, yes, I mean that. And now that we've both said that, every single time I see one of those things from now on, I'm just gonna think, Little Boo Boo. It's like, Breaking 2, Little Boo Boo.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
Hell,
Oh my god.
side note, we even did that fucking title in our podcast way back in season 1 when we did Street Fighter 2 Electric Shadaloo.
We did.
Okay, anyway.
Oh my god. But yeah, so we have we have this stuff being like super coveted. And I think instead of it being like people being kind of controlled by the stuff, it should be almost like if you guys haven't seen it, I know you've seen it, but the movie The Crazies, either version, the original or the remake, where it just affects their mind in a way where it's like they're gonna lash out, like they're gonna be violent. Maybe like it makes people prone to like outbursts of violence when they can't get enough of the stuff. So at first, everything is fine. But then, of course, supply chain issues rise and certain little towns start to not get enough of the stuff. And we start seeing reports of like vandalism or like burning buildings or like, gang violence, like people grouping up and fighting in parks and like crazy shit. So Mo is going to be reporting all over that. He's just going to be like, there are reports all over the country. He's like, some people are linking it to the stuff. I'm telling you guys that shit's no good for you, as he's like putting out a cigarette and lighting another one. It's like, I'm telling you guys, it's got a hold on your mind, man. It's an addictive substance. And he's just like freaking. It's like, you're not asking the right questions. Like, I'm picturing this guy like pirate radio style, like in his basement, just like freaking the fuck out,
Oh, and we're not really. I feel like we're kind of like piecing the plot together in like puzzle pieces a little bit at a time,
kind of like the original.
Yeah, exactly. I think a good role for Nicole would be, instead of an advertising executive or artist like she was, like coming up with the jingle and the commercials and all that for the stuff, what if she is kind of the flip side of the coin to Mo, where she is an actual journalist, like a professional journalist, and of course this day and age, you would think like a television news reporter, except now what you're going to see them constantly popping up on videos on TikTok and X and YouTube. So I try to follow the news. I try to follow it on social media more so than traditional news venues lately, just because I find that I'm more often just wasting time on YouTube or something, looking at reels and shorts or whatever they are, and that's a really good place for real news in bite-sized chunks, right? So then you get this guy who in Mo is he's a nut and not everyone takes him seriously. And then you have this like professional, and her take on it is that you mentioned how like supply chain is drying up. And I say, no, it's not. What I say is that that's all manufactured demand. It's a manufactured scarcity, rather, where this company you mentioned, was it International Foodstuffs Incorporated? We'll call them IFI, right? IFI, they know what they've done, and like any good evil corporation in a fictional story, they're going to see how they can twist that toward profit. And of course, it being the time we live in now, there's got to be some billionaire in charge of that company who just twists his mustache like a comic book villain, because that happens in real life now. and so she basically is looking at the corporation, and she is seeing the pattern of like supply chain drying up and demand is going up and people are freaking out and it's causing violence. But then she's like investigating and seeing there's no reason for that supply to not be there. Like you look like this, like you look, and I don't know if it's a publicly traded corporation, but like let's just say that it was, you'd be able to look at their financial records because it's public knowledge, and then there's even more information revealed to actual shareholders. Hell, she could go so far as just to go on fucking eTrade.com and buy some shares, get herself a hold of the shareholders documents, and she knows exactly how much money they're making, and she can put two and two together and realize that supply chain shortage doesn't exist. This is orchestrated on purpose, and though she's going to try to expose this billionaire for what he is, and he's going to use his billionaire resources to discredit her, and then so she's going to go to the one person who still has an audience as big as her, fucking Mo.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I fucking love it. I love it. That is perfect. Side note, I need to mention when you said it was IFI. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. International Foodstuffs Incorporated. But I love the fact that they're called iffy.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Because the whole premise of the stuff is kind of iffy.
Love it. I love it. Yeah.
That's just a happy accident. So what if this billionaire, like we're trying to work in all these characters from the original and try to like give them a reason to be in here. What if the billionaire is none other than Chocolate Chip Charlie?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
What if he was like this little grassroots guy? Like he was a guy who created this, maybe he was like the first health food cookie. Like he remember when Snackwells were a thing in the 80s?
Yeah.
Like what if he created like the first Snackwells, and it was a chocolate chip cookie that was like made with like carob and chocolate, so it was like less sugar, and people, it was a sweet treat that you could have without feeling super guilty, and moms across America were delighted. And he started off in like maybe the early 90s and slowly started building this, this wealth. And then, he became, the CEO of this big corporation, and then, branched out and like merged with other corporations and kind of became like the head of the International Foodstuffs Incorporated, who were looking to make, snack foods that are healthy, because that was what he started off as. So, and like everyone kind of knows him as, his nickname is Chocolate Chip Charlie, like the self-made billionaire type of thing. But again, he's a billionaire. He's not going to have any scruples.
Right? Exactly.
He's going to be like, wait, I can make more money if we manufacture a supply chain fuck up? Yeah, let's do that. Like he's going to be that guy.
Exactly. Yeah, it is exactly what it is, And hell, he'll even admit it to everybody in that really smarmy way that billionaires just cop to shit, and then, they wink at the camera and smile in a way that says like, what are you going to do about it? Poor people, where
right.
What I mean is like Nicole could, maybe she finally gets him cornered somewhere when, he's leaving somewhere, and she rushes up to him with like a group of reporters, and, she's got her, her little camera out for her YouTube, short feed, or, whatever. She's going live on Instagram, whatever it is, and she even says like, tell us about how you, manufactured the, the supply shortage on purpose to raise profits. And he turns at her and she's like, there, and he just says something really, shitty, like, it's there's a lot of things that go into running a business like mine, and supply chain's really difficult, and sometimes we have to make decisions, to hold back supply because we want to make sure that we're putting everything through the property quality tests, and it's all distributed fairly, so, and he's basically just going to tell her like, yeah, we held it back, for some bullshit reason. And he's just smile at the camera like, it's your old friend, Chocolate Chip Charlie. And she's like,
yep.
And it's like, she basically he just told her straight out what he did, but it's like people are getting, half the fucking comments are just going to be people being like, see, it seems totally legitimate. Like, you got to make sure that you put that stuff through the proper, like, FDA testing. Like, he's just a smart guy. You don't get to be rich like that without being smart. And, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Exactly. Dude, it's reminding me of like the fucking speculative pricing bullshit that they do with gas.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like, oh, there's a war happening. We have supplies, but we are going to up the cost. This way it doesn't get used up too quickly in case we can't get more. So we're going to do speculative pricing, perfectly legal price gouging. Keep in mind, perfectly legal, but we're going to keep raising it so you fucking plebeians can't go anywhere. Oh, I fucking hate that shit. So yes, this is 100% that same thing. And it could even be like, maybe it's a press conference, right? Like he's talking about like, they're working on making sure, that they can get this out to the masses. We understand that there have been shipment delays and blah, 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 and have her confront him right there in front of other people, like recording, and have, and do just what you said. He's like, well, little miss, what you don't understand is we want to ensure that our foods are held to the highest qualities possible. And we noticed that maybe we haven't tested it for everything that we needed. And we just wanted to make sure before we sent it out out there that no harm was going to come to any of our consumers. And he just kind of like goes on this like smarmy little like, yeah, we're doing that. We're totally doing that. But it's for your own good. See, you little people don't understand. We're the smart ones. We're the ones with the money. We're the smart people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. And I like what you said too about like how the sort of speculative bullshit too, right? And he could even say like, well, and I'm trying to remember. You mentioned that Tepui Caves, and I'm like, wait, what fucking country are they in Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Okay. Yep. And that makes perfect sense.
There's a couple of them, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense because he could even say some stuff like, with all of our dedicated consumers who are loyal to our product that have made us so successful with the stuff, and we need to make sure that they have a constant and steady supply for years to come. And with all the political upheaval in Venezuela these days, we made the decision to hold back a backstock and inventory. We got to hold some in reserve because we don't want things to change down there in Venezuela. Or he might not want to mention it specifically because don't give away the secret of the berries. But yeah, he can even say some bullshit like that where he's just coming right out and saying like, oh yeah, we got a shitload in the back, but you can't have it, bitch.
Exactly. Fucking exactly. Oh man, I didn't expect to turn Chocolate Chip Charlie into the villain, but that works. So yeah, I mean, lately we've been trying to go through like beat by beat, but we can skip around a little bit. I think what we should have happen is like we've established our characters. We've established, Nicole is the reporter, like the real hard hitting reporter who's like going after the iffy corporation, and Chocolate Chip Charlie, and then you have Mo Rutherford with his Mo Answers podcast. He's like, I got Mo questions and I want Mo answers. So he's over there like the fucking conspiracy theorist that I feel like, Jason, maybe he's like, he's every fucking teenage kid nowadays. He's on social media, on TikTok, on YouTube, barely watching television, mostly watching internet shit. Right. He's going to come across, Mo's little clips on TikTok or Mo's clips on Instagram Reels. It's like, this guy's talking about the stuff and maybe why he pays attention. We should show a scene with Jason and his family. Like, maybe his mom is like gaga for the stuff. It's like, oh my God, finally a dessert that I can indulge in whenever I want and lose weight. And maybe we could even show like at the start of the movie, she's a little bit chubbier, sure, but she's lost a bunch of weight and she's like, oh my God, this is a godsend. It's a miracle. And like, so she is hooked. She loves this fucking stuff. Oh, yeah. But he notices like she's getting real like temperamental, like she's lashing out at him. Like if he did, like Jason, did you do the dishes like I asked you? Oh no, I haven't gotten to it yet. And everybody like, no television, no phone, no nothing. Get in the kitchen. Like just goes from being this sweet woman to like very angry and like temperamental. It's like, what the fuck's going on with mom? And then like his dad starts indulging in the stuff, and he starts getting weird and temperamental and angry all the time. And then maybe even like his siblings, and he's like, I'm not touching that stuff. Like I think something's wrong with it. Like, kind of like he's making the connection, like first with mom because she was so hooked on it, and now she's acting crazy. And then he's seeing these little clips. Maybe he's like playing a video game with his friends, like he's got YouTube on in the background and like, watching the different, shorts, and he sees a clip of Mo talking about in some small town how there was, a shortage of the stuff and it resulted in violence, and he's like, I think this is an addictive substance. I think the government wants you controlled. They want to feed you poison so they can control your minds, man. Like he's just like going off about it. And Jason's watching this like, wait, that makes a lot of sense. Like, right. And because again, he's a teenager. He's not going to have enough of life's experience right. to go, that's bullshit. Because unfortunately, and I'm sure you're the same way, I've done that with conspiracy theories that turned out to be true, where I'm just like, oh, that's horse shit. Come on. And then years later you find out, oh, wait, that was real? Oh, fuck me. But that's what happens when you get old enough. You see enough of life that you stop asking the what ifs. You instead you ask, how can I deal with, instead of like, what if? It's just like, all right, how can I get through this? But as a teenager, you're still idealistic enough to be like, yeah, that makes sense. The government is trying to kill us with poison foodstuffs, and it's like, So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, kids are, well, let's be honest, kids are dumb. No, but what I'm saying is like, kids haven't developed that sense of reasoning to like be able to filter out the things that are obviously bullshit than the things that maybe there's a grain of truth there. So I'm sure you have the same experience with with your teenager where they're like, oh, Dad, like I saw this video and like this guy, and he tells you some story, and in your head, just listening to him retell it, you're like, can't you hear how dumb this sounds? Like, can't you hear
yes.
how impossible that would be? Like, there's no way that this is true just because somebody made a video on it. It's like some clickbait bullshit from some people who don't give a shit if it's true or not. They just know that you're going to click on it. And it's like they haven't developed that skill set yet to parse the true from the fake. And I think it would be interesting if Jason, he was developing that skill set because he's having to grow up a little bit with his family acting so crazy, and he's like real suspicious. And yeah, like I said, maybe he's like playing a game. There's a friend or two, they're hanging out, and like maybe some friend of his is on his phone like, oh, check this out, like this fucking dude, yada yada yada, and it's some clearly AI bullshit, and then he just like swipes to the to the next video, and all his friends are watching, and then here up comes Mo, and and then his friends are like, see, I told you, man, the government's trying to poison us, as he takes a big mouthful of the stuff. It's like, yeah, like they put poison in the drinking water and shit. I heard about it. But and Mo is the one or Jason is the one who kind of perks up, and he's like, wait, go back to that, let me see it again. And he's like, yeah, they really are. And he turns to his friends like, put that shit down, don't you hear what he's saying? And then it's just like, oh, come on, it's just some bullshit, just some AI, man, we're just having fun. And Jason's like, fucking idiots.
Right.
and that's when he starts thinking like, hey, like let me talk to this guy. So you get both Jason and Nicole, who for different reasons seek out Mo to get his help because, not that he's like some saboteur, but he just has the audience that hasn't been shushed yet.
Yeah. Okay. No, I like that. And it should be one of those things where like, Jason reaches out to him and it's like, kind of explains like he's noticed, changes in his family's behavior, stuff like that. But maybe Mo, he's going to get thousands upon thousands of comments and emails and he's not paying attention to it. Yeah. It kind of falls by the wayside. But like, maybe frickin' Nicole is reaching out to him, and we could have like the back and forth with the two of them, like discussing what's really going on, like the manufactured supply chain shortage and blah blah blah. Well, Jason, still trying to reach out. Maybe we could have him encounter some like of the stuffies acting violent. Like maybe he's riding his bike around town or whatever. And maybe because he was I think like 12 in the movie. So yeah, we'll have him be like, like a 14-year-old or something, a little bit older. Yeah. He's, out riding his bike around town, and maybe one of the little like stuff shops, like the little ice cream huts that we saw, one of them. Maybe they're telling the people like, we're sorry, we're all out. And like he videotapes like a bunch of customers beating the tar out of the server at the ice cream shop because they couldn't get enough of the stuff. They're like, they freak out and they're beating him, and they're like, and he's recording it and they're beating the guy bloody. And like, he's like, hey, stop that. And like when he reaches, like tries to tell, like, because he notices they're going to kill this guy, and they all turn and look at him almost like one hive mind. Like they all snap to and look at him, and they're like, hey, put that phone down. You don't got any right to film me. And they start coming at him. And he's just like, fuck, I got to get out of here. So he takes off on his bike, but he sends that video into Mo. And he's like, look, I've been trying to reach you. Like, I think what you're saying is real. Like, people in my town are acting wrong, and he sends the video in. And maybe like it could be during the encounter with Nicole and Mo, or maybe like one of their encounters. Like they've already been talking for a while. And then like Mo gets that video and he shows it to Nicole. Like, this kid contacted me. It's like, I don't know, somewhere in Missouri, whatever. Like, he contacted me and this little thing's happening. He goes, this in combination with other reports that I've been hearing, I think that there's more behind the stuff than just corporate supply shortages to make more money. I think there truly is something that is turning people like against one another. It's like a drug, like they can't get enough. So then, like, I don't know, do we want to have them like go seek out Jason, or like, maybe because I kind of like the idea of following the similar steps of the original. But like, we need a reason to get them to Jason.
Okay.
Yeah, because I figured like, Jason's been reaching out, like emailing Mo, but it's, falling on deaf ears, and he finds he videotapes that, sends it in, and like that's when Mo takes notice, and he's just like, hey, here's he shows Nicole, like, here's a video from a listener of like their small town Missouri or whatever, and then maybe she's like, well, let's go talk to him. And it's like, then they decide like they're going to go and interview this kid. But when they get there, I think like they should get there similarly to the original, where everything has gone wrong. Like that town like has been cut off from the stuff, so the people can't get anymore, and the people who can't get it are now attacking everybody. Like it's so when we bring them there, it's like chaos is unfolding.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe, it's a movie, so we can probably do some coincidences that are, maybe a little unrealistic, and maybe it's as simple as, they're like, yeah, like, we need to go, like, we need to find this kid, like, and then there's like additional news stories, like, someplace in Missouri, I'm just gonna, make up a name, right? Kirby, Missouri, right? Because I'm looking, I just saw an ad for a Thor comic. I don't know why that's popping up in an ad on the IMDb page that I have open. That's weird. Anyway, so, and maybe it's just like, breaking news and like, Kirby, Missouri, there's riots breaking out, people are claiming that, or people are craving the stuff, and they're rioting all the markets in town, and, and whatever. It's like, I can't, do the dialogue of the news story, but basically what's happening is like, there's something going down in this town. People are getting violent. Like you said, like you mentioned, the Crazies. I was going to say that's an example of a remake that I fucking love. The Crazies, the new version is fucking great.
Oh, I'll go so far as to say it's better than the original. And I know a lot of Romero fans would fucking hang me up on my toes for saying that. But I like the original just fine. But the remake, I feel like, is a much more cohesive story. And I got to admit it, I love Timothy Olyphant. So, it's like, dude's in the movie, I'm going to watch it. He's a great actor. And I think that, that movie was extremely well done.
Absolutely. We have all the exact same opinions. I also love Timothy Olyphant, and I do think it's way better than the original. And I don't think, it's blasphemy to say that regardless of who made the original, because there's a lot of remakes that are better than the original. Ocean's 11, or, for other horror fans, The Thing is a remake. And it's like one of the greatest horror movies of all time. And it's a remake. So you can't say that you don't like remakes if you're a fan of John Carpenter's The Thing. And I would go so far as to say that there's probably a very, very, very slim minority of horror fans in America that don't like The Thing, right? So it's like, get over yourselves. You like remakes, people. but anyway.
Exactly.
So that's exactly it, right? They're like they're going crazy. They hear something on an unrelated news channel, and then have Mo be like, wait a second, like, this kid, and realizes, hey, this kid is from Kirby. Like, oh shit, like, that's that same kid. Like, things are getting worse. We got to get there. Again, stupid coincidence for the movie's purpose, but that way we can get, Mo and Nicole on the way. We can do some drama. If we want to, like, just some action pieces along the way of them, like, they're trying to travel to Kirby, and they're both people that have recognizable faces that people know about. They've both been outspoken against the stuff, so they might encounter violent people along the way. Like, it might be as simple as, like, they go to get in an Uber, and the person driving the Uber is just like, hey, aren't you that motherfucker online who's always talking bad about the stuff? Like, god damn it, get the fuck out of my car. You don't like the stuff, you can't drive in my motherfucking car, motherfucker.
The fucking stuff changed my life, bitch. Just
and we could do like funny stuff like that, and then maybe have some violent encounters. And again, I don't know exactly what they are. I don't think we need to step through this plot beat by beat, like you said before. I think we've been doing that a lot lately, so I'm kind of happy with just gathering the puzzle pieces together here and like letting it come together. But yeah, we just do some peril along the way that really drives it home for Mo and Nicole that the people who are jonesing for the stuff are like really getting out of control, and not just like twitchy and and irritable, but it's going to the point where they're mindless. They've lost themselves to some kind of an animalistic berserker type urge. and hell, maybe we even see at some point that there's a person who's not crazy, but is just wearing like a t-shirt, a branded shirt, the stuff with that cool like bullseye logo in like the purple and mauve or whatever it is, like the lavender pink. And we just see some of these crazies at one point. They turn and they look at this perfectly normal person and they're just like, stuff, and they attack him like he's a fucking jar of stuff, and they start tearing him apart. And and it's like, oh shit, like that's really getting violent to the point where they literally just saw that logo and were like, oh, he's got the stuff, get it, and they panic and go manic and rip the dude apart. I mean, I don't know if they eat him necessarily, but like he would definitely go down in a pile of like attackers.
I think what we should do, we could do this in a montage scene. So we could have like during the Nicole and Mo talks, like before Jason sends the video in, we could see like them talking about random acts of violence that are erupting all over the nation. And it's like, and it's seemingly like just like there's nothing pushing it. Like it's not not a argument that got out of hand, or like something that's like racially motivated or hate crime motivated. It's nothing like that. It's just random, completely seemingly random acts of violence that people are catching on cell phone footage, and and they're popping up all over the internet. So they're talking about this, and like we could see just that exact scene that you're talking about. Maybe it could be like some dude in a convenience store like videotaping that, like there's a guy maybe behind the counter like wearing a stuffed t-shirt, and like people are like, do you have any more of it yet? If he's like, no man, sorry, I haven't gotten it. They're like, what about that? You have it on you. And they just start attacking him, beating the shit out of him, like yanking his shirt off his body like it contains the stuff. And the guy videotaping is like, what the fuck, what's going on? Like, are you guys seeing this? Like he's on live or something. And then like one of them turns at him and is like, why are you videotaping me? Hey, fuck you. And they just start running at the camera. So it's like we see that the violence starts first. But while that's going on, we're going to be juxtaposing what's happening with Jason. So we're cut back and forth. And we'll cut back to Jason. We see, the bullshit where it's like, his family are getting more and more aggravated. And like, he's the only one that hasn't partaken in the stuff. And they're just getting like really out of sorts. Like they're not the same. We could even have like scenes earlier that show it's a very loving family, a very close family. And now everyone's kind of doing their own thing. They're all ignoring each other. They're angry. They're agitated. And maybe like mom is the first one to start showing signs of this, but I feel like she should have like the longer she goes without the stuff, she should look like an addict. Like,
oh, I see.
Her eyes are kind of getting sunken in, like she's getting like deep circles under her eyes. Like her flesh is getting very sallow and like, just weird. Like she's getting kind of like, maybe she's getting like little nodules, like almost like pimples or like zits. Like when people do like steroids, they get like the clusters of zits. Maybe she's getting like these weird little sores around her mouth and around her eyes, and like basically around any orifice. She's getting these like little pus-filled nodules, and just like I'm picturing her sitting like in the den of the house, and Jason being like, "Hey mom, I'm gonna go to Scott's house," and have her just be like kind of breathing raspily, be like, go to the store first, get some more stuff. Like just like real creepy. And he's like, okay, mom, I'll try. They've been sold out. And she's like, go, just like real violent and like agitated. And then he goes, and we could see this is the scene where like he passes by on his bike, passes by like the little ice cream hut where they beat the shit out of the guy. And he's like, oh my God. Like, and he's noticing like more and more people, just like somebody standing at a bus stop, or like, people like in line at the bank or whatever, just they look kind of fucked up. Like they look almost like they're rotting from the inside out. Like they're getting real skinny and skeletal, but they're also getting like that sunken look, almost like the shit's eating them alive.
See, as soon as you said the word skeletal, I was like, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Exactly. Right. It's like this very anorexic look where it's like they're eating the stuff, they're eating it, and it's this constant message of like, you can eat all you want and never gain a pound. Like, in fact, you'll lose weight on the stuff. Anyway, it's like it's this diet thing, and yeah, the more they're eating it, it's not that they're losing weight because they're not eating enough calories. It's that they're losing weight because the stuff is starting to consume them, or consume their calories or whatever. And so it's like, yeah, it sure does work to lose weight because now they have this like fucking tapeworm or whatever, and inside of them. And yeah, so when Jason's mom is sitting there on the couch, it's like she just looks like so malnourished, like there's just like flies buzzing around her head, like a, fucking skeleton, like her. And she has these like, there's like this exercise gear on, like tights and, a sports bra or whatever, but it's like hanging off of her, and it's just like,
yes.
Oh God, like even the tight fitting elastic clothing is baggy because she's become so thin. I mean, it's honestly, kind of, it should be a sad scene for Jason. Like, it shouldn't just be horrific, at least not with her. I mean, with the other people we see,
right,
yeah, we can really drive home how scary this is. But for her, it should be something heartbreaking to him because, here's his mom who, I mean, sure, she had a few extra pounds, but she was healthy, she,
yep.
and there was like plenty of her to love, and she was happy and she was a good mom. And then as soon as the stuff came around, it's like she becomes so obsessed with her own image and her own weight, and she's constantly on the scale and constantly, like she's throwing away other food in the house that has too many calories or whatever. And now she's sitting there on the couch like jonesing, looking like a skeleton. Like, this should definitely be like a touching moment.
Oh, hell yeah. No, I feel like the more we could show, like, because we could show a bunch of scenes like that all around, like seeing more and more people getting more and more emaciated, the more that there's the supply chain shortage, and then like we could even do something like we could have a scene where we see a delivery truck coming into like some big box store, like a Walmart or something, and like people storming the store, just like they see the stuff on the side of the truck and they're like, the stuff, they like rush the store. And it could be like a big news story, like, violence erupts at, Walmart in New York, that type of thing. But then, all of those like montage scenes lead up to this conversation with Mo and Nicole, where they're talking about how they got to get to the bottom of this and yada, yada, yada. And then we see Jason's video. So they're like, hey, let's go. Like, that's in Kirby. That's where all these other videos are from. Let's go there. So they head down. But I think by the time they get there, it should be like the fucking town and the crazies. Like, everybody's a fucking nut. Yep. And those that aren't are running for their fucking lives.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So like when they first get there, like, I feel like they should, try to like, maybe they like, we do the whole thing with the Uber that you said, where it's like, oh, I know you, get the fuck out of my car. And it's like, well, it looks like we're huffing it. It's like the price of fame. Am I right? And she's just like, whatever, the two of them, like, they're walking. He's like, maybe he's looking at his phone. He's like, yeah, this kid's house should be up this way somewhere, and they see maybe like the front door boots open and Jason comes running out terrified. And his brother comes running after him like this fucking like emaciated zombie, just chasing after him, like almost foaming at the mouth, like just something has gone horribly wrong, and like,
dude, I just happened to like look back at the IMDb page I have open, and I saw the movie poster for the stuff, right? Which, for those of you who can't picture what it looks like, it's this person who has this white goo, marshmallow stuff like coming out of their mouth, coming out of their eyes, and his face is kind of like stretched and elongated. Dude, we could do a play on the movie poster right here when Jason's brother comes bursting out the front door. Not that he would be all like spilling marshmallow out of his mouth, but like he's foaming at the mouth, and maybe his eyes are weeping like mucus, like he's got these terrible allergies or something. And just have him make that face, and he lifts his hands up next to his face and just kind of like, he tries to scream, but it comes out in this sort of like, like stuttering cough of a scream, and it's just like, oh my God, like what happened, and that would just be, I would think it would be like a fun callback to the movie poster.
Oh, fuck yeah. We should have like, Jason like go running toward, like just running out into the street. And, Mo and Nicole are just kind of standing there watching this like from like down the block. Jason comes running out. We see his brother chasing after him. And he's just like, help, help me. He's like screaming for help. And he runs straight at Mo and Nicole. And like, here comes zombie brother like running at, and Mo's just like, ah, and he just fucking punches the kid. Just like, what the fuck? Right. But like a total and I want to have that panic moment because like, again, behind the mic, he's this fucking badass who's like, fuck corporate America, fuck the government, fuck everybody. I know what's really happened. First moment of seeing real danger coming at him, he's like, oh, what the fuck do I do? Just like, and he fucking punches a child in the face. I mean, I say child, but he would have been like 16, 17, but still, whatever.
It's still a child.
Yeah, exactly. It's a teenager, but yeah, you're a grown ass man. You don't beat kids. But when he hits him, this is the kind of effect that I'm picturing. So like he punches him and like the goo and all that like will get on Mo's hand, but almost like his skin sticks to his fist for a moment. And when he pulls it back, it's like a popping, like almost like his skin has a lot more elasticity than it should have. Pulls away and he's like, oh, what the hell? And the kid's like laying there on the ground foaming at the mouth. This stuff, I needed this stuff. And they're like, oh my God, we got to get out of here. And like, maybe they could see other people like kind of cropping up around, like, and they're all like snapping, looking toward Mo, Nicole, and Jason. And they just start slowly walking toward him, almost like, hey, one of ours has been hurt. Like, we're coming for you now. Yeah. So it's almost like a hive mind type of thing. They're like, we got to go. Let's get the fuck out of here. That type of thing.
Oh, yeah. I love that. And I love that it's sort of like, it's very reminiscent of a zombie movie, very reminiscent of Night of the Living Dead, where it's just like, or like in The Crazies, where like they weren't really zombies. Mm-hmm. They were just like infected or something. You mentioned the skin, and I can completely understand what you're trying to say, or at least I think I do. But I'm picturing it like if you ever like touch something really sticky by mistake and like spilled soda that's been there for a while, or like super glue on something, and it's like when you lift your hand up, there's that moment where your skin stretches out and then it like kind of snaps back, and then you have this like weird texture on your skin after a while, like especially with like if it's actual glue,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And it makes almost like this weird like squelching sticky noise, like if you were to touch it again, like you could,
Yes.
And like, yeah, that's exactly what I pictured in my head when you said that. Like he punches him and pulls his hand away, and it almost makes a popping or snapping noise because it like sticks for a second, and it's like, gross.
Exactly, because again, like, what the fuck is happening to these people? Like, what is their bodies are deteriorating, and it's like all sticky and elastic. Like, what the fuck? I'm picturing like the more this, I guess deterioration, like, because it's not really an infection. It's just, whatever the stuff did to their bodies. I'm picturing it. Imagine walking around, but your bones are rubbery.
Yeah.
So like you're moving wrong. Like you're almost like how the tar man moves in Return of the Living Dead, where it's like the joints don't feel like they're connected anymore. Like they're held together with like, dilapidating sinew, it's like just like they shouldn't be able to move, like almost like Gumby,
Oh, yeah, that's great. Or, if you, if like both your legs fell asleep at the same time and you tried to get off the couch and you'd just be like, whoa, like I got rubber legs.
Walking around like a fucking baby deer. But yeah, so so again, I know we're kind of trying to avoid going beat by beat, and we've already been, playing on this for a while, but what I want them to have to do is like try to expose this story. So obviously they're trapped in this small town that seems to be fucking going crazy with the stuff. So I don't know how we can get Colonel Spears in here, or if we need Colonel Spears, but I kind of want to get Colonel Spears in here. So here's what I'm thinking. Colonel Spears, what if he is a fellow conspiracy theorist who's a friend of Mo? Like, somebody that he knew from back in the day. And, maybe he's, an Iraq, vet. He's a military veteran. but he runs like a doomsday preppers camp.
Yeah.
So he's got like one of those like shipping container houses, like, and they got like a compound where they all have a bunch of weaponry and all that. So Colonel Spears is a little fucking out there. Like he's kind of crazy. So like we could have this whole montage of like Nicole, Jason, and Mo trying to escape the Stuffies in Kirby. Like they're running around. We could have all these creepy moments, like almost like a zombie attack where they're being chased through the streets. You know, every time they think they encounter someone normal, it turns out they're yet another Stuffy that's in a different stage of decomposition or whatever. So they finally, you know, get out of Dodge or get to safety. And, you know, they're like, what do we do? How do we get this story out? He's like, I think I know the guy, you know, and like Mo calls in his, you know, calls a favor in from a friend type of thing. And they go and get picked up by some like, you know, giant bearded lumberjack looking motherfucker who like takes him to this compound with Colonel Spears and his band of, you know, doomsday preppers.
Yeah, I love that. I was thinking, something really similar. I don't even know necessarily that it has to be Mo's friend. It's just a guy that Mo knows. Where it's like, because they're in this, you know, part of Missouri, maybe he's just like, okay, I don't know if I can trust this guy because he's, you know, you think I'm out there. This guy's a fucking wacko, but he's like, okay, I know this guy, and it's you know, again, I don't know if he knows him in person or just another one of these conspiracy theorists who shows up like in the community, which as I say that out loud, okay, yeah, that actually makes kind of sense. Like this guy is the real conspiracy theory nut. This guy is the real type who, you know, doesn't believe in the moon landing, and he believes in like the flat earth and like the Illuminati and like you name it, this guy believes in it. And yeah, so he has this, like you said, like this sort of like doomsday prepper like compound or like almost a cult that he runs, and
yes,
and just because they're physically close to it, Mo knows we can get to this guy, and you know, and then when he gets out there, it's like he almost has to give him, in order to get access, you know, past the guards in his compound, Mo's got to give him like the secret handshake, but in the form of they start exchanging, you know, like knowledge of like, you know, name 3 of the 5 members of the Pentaveret or whatever, you know.
Yes.
And it's like, yes. And you can, and at one point, like Mo would kind of turn and look at Nicole and roll his eyes, you know, kind of behind his back, like, oh my God, like this is, I know this is all bullshit, but just like roll with me, you know. And it was like, you know, like, you know, who was the senator that you know, that cooked the books to hide the money that they used to pay Kubrick to film the moon landing and or whatever, you know. It's like this weird trivia, you know, and it's like, okay, they're gonna kind of test each other, and it's like, okay, yeah, like you're the real deal, like come on in, bring your friends, you know.
It's reminding me of the Ellicottville, you know, comic club thing, the Evan Dorkin thing. Bring me the head of Boba Fett. It's reminding me of that. They have the trivia off, you know, but it's a conspiracy theory off.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the Eldingville Club. Yeah, I love that.
Eldingville, yeah.
I fucking love that one. Yeah, exactly. A conspiracy off. That's perfect. Yeah, that's a great way of saying it. Like,
oh my God. So we'll get them. You know, they get in there. They show them the videos of like what Jason sent them, and like talk about like what they experienced there, and have them be like, all right, men, it's finally happening, Judgment Day. You know, they're like, they get their gear on and all that. But like, you know, like cops, like soldiers in horror movies, they have like body cams, like so they're going to be recording everything that they experience. So maybe they go back into Kirby, like now they got like a fucking militia on their side, and they're like, you know, going in, and we're going to see like what becomes of the Stuffies, like what happens. Like this is going to be our third act, our big climactic battle. You know, like they're going to go back in and have like, this is what I'm picturing, the inevitable like final evolution of the Stuffies, because let's be honest, at the heart of the original stuff, it's a Blob ripoff. It's a melt movie of sorts.
Yep.
So we need to at least acknowledge that. So we talked about them like their skin getting real sallow and sticky, and they almost have like a hive mind. And in the original movie, we saw like once the stuff was done with the Stuffies, it like pulled out of their body, leaving these hollow shells behind. So instead of that, what if the sickness, like they all kind of start coming together? Now, I know you haven't seen this, but I'm sure some of our listeners have. But the movie Society, there is a scene called The Shunting, where all of these people kind of turn into this bioorganic mass. So I'm picturing, imagine if these people started sticking together, like literally, and the flesh started kind of melding into each other.
Oh yeah.
And it was almost like this is my vision. It's not going to be a white blob like the stuff in the original movie, but picture a giant blob of silly putty if it had bones and teeth and hair.
Oh yeah.
Like how fucking gross would that be? Just like sloughing down the sidewalk with like chattering jaws and like weird bones sticking up at odd angles as like the skin just kind of sloughs around in like a liquid form.
Oh God, yeah, I love it. Oh, see, I think the reveal of this thing. Oh, okay. I'm like, okay. So wait. I don't want to do it beat by beat, but like the temptation is there because this is awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like this is a really good opportunity for a jump scare because normally I know that they're cheap, but hey, in this type of a horror movie, we got to have at least one. And so far,
of course,
I think we haven't really done a lot of this straight horror. So yeah, I love this. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, like we're just taking like a just veering left into something weird, and
yep.
and it should exactly be that. It should be the kind of moment where the audience just goes, "What the fuck?" but
yep.
not just because they see something weird, but because you're like, "Where the fuck did that come from?" Like out of nowhere, And and it should be this thing where some of the militia guys are they're almost like they're on the hunt for people in Kirby. They're these like the crazy like stuffy zombies, and at one point they go around a corner, or maybe he stops and says like, "All clear, Sarge," or whatever the conspiracy nut guy. Did we give him a name? The conspiracy nut like militia guy, or that's
Colonel Spears.
Spears, that's it. I'm sorry, I got confused for a second. Yeah, but he sort of turns and he's like, "All clear over here, Colonel," and then it's just wham right in the frame is like you see around that corner, and it's just like this mass, this wall of like teeth and eyes and jawbones, and it's just like, and this soldier just gets like fucking squished right into it, and it's like, holy shit,
fuck yeah,
right? And then we can explain kind of where it came from, like have the shock moment, and the other guys kind of go crazy. Maybe like an arm reaches out of it and grabs one of the other soldiers before he can run away, and like pulls him into it, and he's like screaming because all these like body parts are like pulling at him and biting at him, and he's being broken and assimilated. And then we can show other of the residents of Kirby who are infected. It's like they're sort of like rushing toward the noise as fast as they can move on their weird little like spindly rubbery legs. But when they get close, it's like it's almost like they just give up. It's like, picture this, like this stuffy is like struggling to get close, and as soon as he gets close enough, he just like lets go, like he just falls, like, oh, finally, and then he hits this mass and gets like sucked into it with this like this slurping noise, and it's like, oh shit, like that's what it is. Like we can explain it to the audience by just showing it like sucking up these other people, but again, they're all looking for a fix, so there's something about this ball, this like conglomerate of them that's giving them the fix they're looking for. So like, oh yeah, that's the stuff, and then it gets sucked up in.
Yeah, it's almost like they're feeding off of like the remnants of the stuff in each other. It's like this. Like they're just mixing all of it together. But again, like it's this collective mind. So yeah, like to your point where it's like it's forming arms out of the fleshy mass and like grabbing. In fact, the way I'm picturing it move is a little less like a blob and more like a caterpillar or like a millipede or something.
Ooh,
like it doesn't have legs, but its flesh is like forming almost like these little like cylinders of like a limb and pulling pulling it along, and it's like reaching out with like little like tentacly hands, like grabbing at shit. Like, so imagine it coming down an alleyway, and it's got like all of these like little hands like grabbing at the wall, like shuffling it along really fast, and then like it spills out like a pudding out into the open, and then just starts like moving along the ground. Like it flattens out and just starts moving along the ground with all these little like nodules, almost like a fucking what are they, the sea pig, how they have those little like the like blown legs where they the hydraulic press legs where they blow water into their limbs and it moves them. It's kind of like that. It's these liquid hydraulic limbs. So it's like I imagine the special effects on this would be fucking hilarious if they were practical effects, but it would be awesome looking. Like it would just be a really cool fucking monster. But yeah, so we could have like the military guys fighting back and like they're shooting at it, and it's maybe it is like, you know, chunks of it are coming off, blood is blood is coming out of them, like it is alive, but it's patching its own wounds as quickly as they're shooting it, and it's just reabsorbing any of the pieces that fall off of it. So it's like, how the fuck do you kill this thing? Like it's just, you know, falling apart and reforming. Like bullets ain't gonna stop it, so they're gonna have to like, you know, pull back type of thing. But yeah, I think basically where this should lead is they have to get the story out there. Like they have to prove what fucking happened with the stuff, like how you know, how this turns into a fucking monster. So again, these guys are going to have like their body cams and all that, so they're videotaping the entire footage. Maybe they find out like fire stops it, so just like in the original, like they you know, fucking Molotov it, and it's like it starts like screeching and like writhing around, and they notice like the parts that fall off that are charred don't reform. So they keep using fire against it until it's finally dispersed, and it's like just piles of like imagine when you're burning a marshmallow in a campfire and it falls off the stick and just turns into like that burnt crispy chunk that's like running down a rock or a log. It's like that's what I'm picturing, the body mass, like that burnt marshmallow runoff.
I love that. I love that. So we had to have this big chaos, like this big fight, and it's like they figure out the fire, but this thing has like, you know, I'm maybe not the whole town of Kirby, but it has all these people who live there, and it's like it's a lot for them to take down. And these are militia guys. I'm sure they have guns and all, and they can make makeshift, you know, fire bombs, like you said, like Molotov cocktails. But at the same time, they don't have like flamethrowers. They don't have a nuke.
No,
right? So it's like they are hurting it and slowing it down, but now we have to have the scene where they have to formulate the plan. Like, what's the death blow that we can strike against this thing? Like, how do we do something big? And I don't know what it is yet, but
I got it.
Pause that. What I was thinking was, let's have them. They got to either lure it somewhere, or they have to get it to calm down for a second. And I think I have the way to do that part. So if you know what the big death blow is, check this out. Is Colonel Spears, like he's gonna just march right up into the middle of the fray, like fearless, like, you know, and he's feeling very justified because I was right all along, you know. Picture this, right? He's gonna walk right up to it with confidence, like, you know, he's almost within this thing's reach. This pudding ball, this sea pig, it's almost within its reach, and he stops in this danger zone, and he reaches from his hand was behind his back, and he reaches from behind his back and he pulls out a carton of the stuff. He fucking had one that he was just hanging on to because you never know, like when you might need it, or, you know, you might need to prove something, or I gotta have a backup supply, whatever. He pulls one out, and picture that scene or several scenes in RoboCop 2 when that doctor pulls out the big container full of the nuke, and then Kane in the RoboCop 2 body, he calms down and he's paying attention because she's got the drug that he needs. So Spears pulls out the tub of the stuff, and then suddenly it's just like this thing freezes and it goes dead quiet. And it's if it had eyes, or maybe it has 40 eyes, but they're all on Spears, like, what are you going to do? And it's trying to inch forward and grab it. And maybe Steers starts walking backwards very calmly, never breaking quote unquote eye contact, but it's like, okay, that's how we calm it or lure it. But what do we do from there?
Okay, see, I was thinking a very similar idea. I love the idea that Spears is the one who has it, because of course he would. I wanted to do the same thing, lure it using the stuff, but get it into like a warehouse or a building or something that they've rigged to explode or to burn. So like maybe they set up a bunch of like fucking gas container bombs. They set up an area where it's rigged with explosives, and then lure the monster, the stuff blob. They lure it using the stuff into the area and then just burn it all down, and like they kill it that way, but again videotaping everything so they have proof of all of it.
Yep, absolutely. Oh yeah, I love it. And it has to be like this big celebratory moment where they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we took it down, woohoo, like like Colonel Spears, and again,
right.
and Nicole and Mo, like they both get on their like streaming services or their social media accounts, and they're just like they're giving their report. Again, I can't do the dialogue, but they're just like like, there it is, world, like you've seen it for yourself, like go in your cabinets, go in your refrigerators, throw the stuff away, or whatever it is that they're saying. And it's like this big moment, and you think everything's great, and it's kind of like, there it is, like fade to black. And I don't know exactly what happens, but I'm just thinking there has to be some kind of a closure for Chocolate Chip Charlie. Right? There's got to be some scene where it's like very similar to in the original movie, where there's like a little stinger right at the very end where you see some people like smuggling some of the original stuff, and they taste it and they're like, yeah, and it's like it's like they're tasting the heroin like from the illegal drugs, and we have to have some sequence where like that, but instead of the sort of like illegal trade, it has to be Chocolate Chip Charlie just like watching it. But again, I don't know what he says, so if you have an idea, throw it in here. But the message or the vibe I'm going for is he's just like, it's all sound and fury, all that effort. And then he like looks out the window and he's in a fucking warehouse, and there's just miles and miles of it, because don't forget, he had a reserve.
Yep. Okay, so let's back it up to where they're fighting the stuff monster, and again, let's combine these ideas. Spears takes out the stuff and realizes he almost has it like he has it under its spell. Like it's just like it's as he moves the jar like back and forth, it kind of like follows. Like it's like reaching out slowly, but not daring to like do anything that could compromise getting the stuff. So like, he looks back at everyone. He's like, we got to get out of here. Like we're going to use this to our advantage. And he throws the stuff, and it like goes almost like the scene in Jurassic Park where Grant uses the flare and he like waves it back and forth to the T-Rex and then throws it, and the T-Rex goes off after it. So it'd be kind of the same thing. He like waves it back and forth and hucks it, and the stuff blob goes after it, and they take the fuck off. And they're like, we got to get some of the stuff. Like that's we can use it against it. And then have Jason bring up that there was a shipment that went to like their local Walmart that caused like a giant, outburst of violence. Like people were attacking each other over it. Maybe there's still some there. Like, so they go like, let's have them go to to Walmart, and they find like a couple packages still in like the shipping and receiving area, like a couple boxes. So they set up their trap. They set up maybe they rig some propane tanks. They got a bunch of stuff in like the docking bay of Walmart, and they lure the blob there. And they get the stuff, they blow it up, they burn it, we get the marshmallow runoff that I was talking about, and then we could cut from them like celebrating like that they defeated it to people watching the video all over the internet, and then cut to like Mo and Nicole reporting on it. Like we do a montage of like reports, and like all around the nation people are purging the stuff from their daily habits, and like we see people like throwing the containers out, and people, and it's like the Iffy Corporation are set to lose millions. And we cut to, we do the thing with Chocolate Chip Charlie, like you said, and have him, he's looking at the videos, basically like, okay, yeah, but he's like, it's time to rebrand. So
Mm-hmm.
he looks at the warehouse filled with the stuff, and then maybe like opens up an email from like his employees or his creative department, his marketing department, and they have like this whole new campaign for the taste, just like at the end of the first movie.
Yep.
But have Chocolate Chip Charlie lean back in his chair and take a little container out of his personal fridge and be like, it's good for you after all. And he eats some himself.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
So he's fucking addicted to it. Yeah. So it's like, it's going to continue. Corporate America still wins. It's like.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, I love it. We got there. Yeah, this was good.
That was fun.
Oh man, and what's really funny, if I do say so myself, is even though we were kind of all over the place with this idea and that idea and this puzzle piece and that puzzle piece, and we didn't really like bring it all together till the end, I still think this is better than the original actual Hollywood movie.
I mean, I may be biased, but I have to agree.
Right.
I love the idea of the stuff blob, just I'm picturing like, I've never seen that in a blob movie where it's like a flesh mass that's like almost like a creature, like it's usually just like, oh, it's some kind of gelatin or gelatinous thing, but we have creatures on this fucking planet that are basically bioorganic blobs. It's like, why hasn't anyone in the melt movie market done something like that?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. Yeah, exactly. Just, bring them all together. You mentioned like, silly putty. It's like, I'm sure other like, kids of the 80s and 90s can relate to when you would have silly putty. It's like a silly, cheap little toy, and you would try to do that thing where you like, oh, I'm going to peel a comic strip off on the back of it backwards, or, I'm going to, I don't know, make a rubber band or whatever it is that you can make out of these things. And at some point, or at least this is how I play with it, at some point it would be the blob, but because they're not that big, it'd be like, I'd get like a Lego minifig, and then I would just like roll over people. And by the end of it, there'd be like a whole bunch of like little Lego pieces stuck in it. And it would be like, okay, now I got to pick all my Legos out and throw this shit out.
I played with both Silly Putty and Play-Doh in that way, where I would make it be a blob. But one of the other things I did with Silly Putty, because I used to, get several containers, because it was like a common toy that you would just get, like aunts and uncles, grandparents, parents, whatever. It was a cheap little toy that you'd get once in a while. Yeah. I never threw mine out. So a lot of times I always had like a big like backlog of Silly Putty where I'd be like, I'm going to mix these together. And I would have like a baseball sized like pile of Silly Putty. Nice. And eventually it would dry out and, I'd have to throw it out. But one of the things I would always do with it is I would stretch it over my hand, and I'd make it look like I had webbed fingers. Nice. And that's what I was thinking of when I was thinking. I was like, oh man, that look of like, there's something moving under that mass. It's like flesh that goes together wrong,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And it's not as not exactly the same thing, but it also reminds me of comic book characters by Robert Kirkman, right? The creator of Invincible and The Walking Dead. And I know he's done this at least twice, but I can't think of what the other example is off the top of my head. I just know he's done it twice because I remember reading this other comic and going, wait, didn't he already do that in Brit? I think it was a character in Capes, but I haven't read Capes in a while. But in his comic book Brit, which came out before Invincible, and then the character Brit it later is in Invincible, including in the TV show, there was a villain, and again, I think he's in the show, but I can't quite remember, but there's a character called Mastermind whose power is to mind control other people, but the way that he fights is he forces people to grab onto each other and climb onto each other and to form a giant made out of people holding onto each other, and then fights with it. And every time he like throws a punch or even takes a step, there's people getting crushed into the street or into like the hero's face, and it's so disgusting where it's not a blob at the beginning because it just starts off as people hanging on to each other while screaming for help, but then by the end it's like a big bloody mass because you can't punch actual human bodies without them just popping.
That is freaking disgusting and awesome.
Oh, I love that character.
That's so cool. But yeah, this was fun. And honestly, I don't know, maybe the listeners will have to tell us. I like when we don't have to go beat by beat through everything. Like sometimes it warrants it. Some of our original stories, kind of needs a beat by beat because there's, we're making it up as we go along. With some of these, like where we're basing it on an existing property, I feel like we don't need to go beat by beat every time because people kind of know the beats of the first one or the original, Yeah. Mm-hmm. But let us know what you think. Well, maybe you guys prefer the beat by beat, but maybe this is fine too. I personally like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like mixing it up. Sometimes when we do the beat by beat, I really like doing that because I feel like it's a great accomplishment to be able to tell a story from scene to scene to scene all the way to the end and like do 3 acts and see the rising action and the fall to like the big climax, the big conclusion that we've somehow crafted together just live on a podcast for 2 hours. And I love doing that. But sometimes it's fun to just say, you know what, like we don't have to tell the 3-act structure. We can just say, like, wouldn't it be cool if we did this and we did this? But like in this example, we ended up telling the conclusion to the story anyway. So we got to the same destination. It was just, we kind of meandered along the way. And if we went back and put all the index cards in the right order, like we'd see a whole plot, but yeah, it's fun to do it this way sometimes.
Absolutely. But I think next time might be more of a beat by beat, but we'll see.
I think so. Yeah, I will say now, I've definitely thought about this next one a lot. So just like, you came to this episode with like, okay, here's my idea. And you kind of explained this whole kind of backstory. I have a similar concept for the next story where this is something where I'm like, oh God, it's so obvious. There's such an easy way to do an improve on this. Like, why can't people see it? So it's like, okay, it may not be so much of an improv like live off of our heads, but I'm still excited to get a chance to prove to people that not only it is a fun movie, but it could be an even better movie if you like kind of squint at it.
I'm looking forward to it because I am definitely in the camp of I am not a fan, but I am willing to be converted. So I'm very excited to see what you have planned and to see what we can come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be a lot of fun. So tune in next time, everyone, for part 2 of our Midsummer Monster Movie Matinee 2-part special, where we're going to touch on some of these ideas that we've recently added to the list of potential Razor Rentals episodes. And let me say, when we had that brainstorming session earlier this year that we talked about, we really came up with a pretty good list of stuff. Like I think we almost doubled the list that we already had, which was already pretty long. And so we added a bunch of new stuff to it, and I slotted a few ideas into like maybe a Halloween, maybe a Christmas, like maybe the start of next season. I was like, there's a couple of ones that fit in the calendar here and there, and there's a couple that I'm like, okay, I really wanted like have the time to prep well. Like let's like we might even need to have like some brainstorming sessions ahead of time, which is it kind of flies in the face of doing an improv live on the show all the time. But some of these are ideas where I'm like, okay, I really want to do this justice. So like, let's bend the rules a little bit and like chat ahead of time and then bring something cool to the table. It's like I said, it's season 5. We've been saying all year how like, fuck it, we're just mixing things up, doing things different. And anyway, I think whatever else we do this season, there were upcoming seasons, and I'm more excited about like what's coming up than I have been in a while. I'll say it that
Same.
way. Yeah. And
I will say all of last season, I was pretty excited because we were doing things that we had put off over and over again. And we were doing things that we were both jazzed about, like sequels to properties that we already knew we wanted to do. So last season, I was super psyched. But this season, I like the fact that there aren't real rules or anything that we're trying to get to. We're just like, yeah, we have a couple episodes that we're like, oh, yeah, we got to make sure to do that this season. But for the most part, it's just like, fuck, what do we do next? What do you want to do? It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when we can just like, like just chill out and like, fuck it, man. Like whatever. Like I love the blueprint. Like you said, I totally agree. I love what we did last season. We had a fucking plan and we executed it, and obviously we both put the work into it. But in my day job, I'm a project manager. So I was like, I had to bring my project management skills to the table. I was like, we had a schedule, we had tasks. masks. I was like, we had to do it that way. So I had to like bring my work home a little bit. But yeah. To your point, there's really, of course, there's going to be Halloween episodes this season. Of course, there are. Like we're gonna have to narrow those down as it is from the list, and the same with Christmas. Other than that, I think there's only 2 calendar-based episodes coming up this season that we need to do at a certain time, but they're both ideas that we're really excited about and been wanting to get to. One of them we wanted to do last season, but it didn't fit the blueprint because it was a different thing. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm really, really excited about those. But yeah, those are the only 2 other than Halloween and Christmas that we have to do. So anything else that we fit in between those holidays is just like, man, fuck it, man. Like, let's just have fun. Like, let's do something weird.
I would say we definitely did that with this episode because, who the fuck expected the stuff?
I will say I didn't. Not until recently, Yeah, not until recently. In fact, it was when I finished the edit for Nobody's Hero that I was like looking at the list and I'm like, okay, so now I got to do transfer of power, and I'm like, oh, we haven't scheduled the next recording yet. Like, let's what should we do? And then as soon as I like looked back and I saw we hadn't done horror in a couple episodes, I was just like, okay, like let's do it, and yeah, I've been excited about it. So, and again, the stuff was just kind of like, yeah, fuck it, why not? It's season 5. Who cares?
Exactly.
But anyway, we've gone on and on and on. So thanks, everyone, once again for tuning in to the Raised by Rentals program. As always, you can find us on the socials at Raised by Rentals. And you can also, as always, check out the Rad Pantheon, a super team of podcasters, artists, musicians, all sorts of creative people supporting each other to help spread the gospel of rad stuff. So definitely check out radpantheon.com and all the other projects that are listed there. Go find them on the socials. Go follow them. Go comment on them. Go share them. Go check them out. What about you, Mike? What do you got going on lately?
It's as we were discussing off the air, I'm kind of in limbo at the moment with a bunch of non-creative issues that I'm dealing with. Just, adulting, as it were, dealing with home issues, work, blah, blah, blah. So, but we're still recording Count Creepy Head's Saturday Morning Monster Mash, where 3 grown man children talk about toys, pop culture, and Muppets. We are kind of up and down with the releases on that because, again, all 3 of us are just very hectic schedules. We do have an episode coming up relatively shortly that you'll be joining us for, Josh. I'm looking forward to.
Oh yeah.
So just so the listeners can look forward to that, and I'm hoping by maybe the end of this month I can get the Boogeyman's Closet back up and running. If not by this month, definitely sometime in August. I have 2 episodes in the can. I'm just I haven't gotten a chance to edit them, and that's not entirely true. I have one completely edited except for the bookend, and the other one I don't have it edited at all. But I have to. I also have to figure out a time that I can get a few people together to record the next episode, so I can get that going again. But it isn't dead; it's just sleeping. Just so people know.
That's okay. When you're an adult, sometimes sleep is the greatest thing if you can ever find time for it. So enjoy it while
exactly.
It lasts. Yeah, I know there's some episodes for the Boogeyman's Closet coming out or planned to come out soon that I know I'm excited about. There's at least one kind of special that we've talked about that I'm jazzed on, and yeah, I can't wait to join the crew over at Count Creepyhead Saturday Morning Monster Mash. I always enjoy a chance to guest on that show, even though I'm not a toy collector, I'm not a Muppet nut, but it's fun to just to chat on whatever bizarre subjects and just have a good time. And yeah, anyway, everyone else should check out those episodes too of upcoming podcasts and the next episode that we've got coming out here for our Midsummer Monster Movie Matinee. And in the meantime, thanks for tuning in. If you had fun with us, visit us on those socials, drop us a line, leave a comment, leave a podcast rating, let us know what we should improve next time. And with that, I'm Josh.
I'm Mike.
We have to return some videotapes. Raised by Rentals is a member of the Rad Pantheon network. Visit radpantheon.com to support rad stuff. The theme music is Forbidden Fruit by Velvet Bethany. You can purchase music and learn more at velvetbethany.com.